Hello and welcome to a live pop culture on Deprogrammed with Keri Smith. I am one of your hosts, Keri, and I'm here with my friend, Mystery Chris, my co-host. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been doing a lot of videos this week, guesting on other shows and recording stuff, and also seen some. Well, I told you I saw the Barbie film.
Yeah. Will you,
uh,
will you ever watch it again?
no, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I
Will
won't
you?
either. No, I have no plans of doing that unless someone wants to give me some money.
No, I don't think so. You know what we have been watching that's really good to have
What?
a bright spot because we criticize entertainment so often? Um, if you guys haven't seen it, since this is a pop culture show, by the way, I should have said at the very beginning, welcome if you're new. This is a live show we do on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock Central, and we pick a subject in pop culture. Tonight, we're going to be doing sort of an overview of the state of woke ideology and entertainment. And then we're getting to the main piece. We're going to be doing, Mystery Chris has prepared another one of his woke movie rewrites. The last one you did was so funny that Chris Gore had you come on his channel and do it again, and you added to it. What was that one called? It was Black
Black
in
to the
Time.
Future or
Black to the
Black in
Future.
Time? I
Black in
forget.
Time. So we've got another one of those lined up for you tonight, and then I have my own woke movie rewrite concept and character images to surprise you with that you haven't seen.
Looking forward to
So
that.
so that's coming up later. Um, but welcome. I see some familiar faces in the chat. Hello. Hello, Robert. Hello, David. Um, okay, so something positive in entertainment. My husband, Anthony, got really into this show and wanted me to watch it with him, and it's great. It's the Lakers show. It's called Winning
The HBO
Time.
show. Yeah.
Yes. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't watched it. It looks good. I think Adam McKay does that. I think.
I think, yeah, Adam McKay is one of the producers on it or something. I see his name on the credits. The music's good. The cinematography, the way they shot it is really great. Some of it looks they added this grainy aspect to parts of it, so it looks like it was shot in the 70s and 80s. It looks like it's very period specific in the way that it's filmed even. Um, and then the cast is just amazing. Uh, John C. Riley plays the owner of the Lakers. And even if you're not, I'm not someone who knows a lot about the history of any sport or any team. And it's still very good, very fascinating, great character development. Sally Fields plays his mom. And it's just, yeah, amazing acting. And the way it's shot is brilliant. And the storyline is interesting and the characters are interesting. So I would say check it out if you have HBO and you're looking for something that's from the mainstream that's not terrible. I would suggest that one.
Which does happen. There are things that aren't terrible that sneak through. So we try to acknowledge the positive and don't want to be negative all the time.
Yeah, it's there are there a few little nods in there that tell me the filmmakers are leftists? Yes, there's a couple. How can you avoid that from something mainstream? But they're very minor. You know, they'll have a like at one point Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is reading the newspaper and it zooms in on a thing about how Ronald Reagan is running for president and he wants to make America great again. And they'd put that in there on purpose as a
Hmm.
reference to where we are now, and Trump, and that phrase is popular now. And there are other just like tiny things like that you're like, okay, I know where they stand politically, but it doesn't matter. It's not heavy handed and they don't make it the point of the story at all. The point of the story you know is the fascinating character arc of all these different people. So I would give it a shot.
How
Davina
many
says
hats?
sounds
We
like a
need
fun.
like a score, a specific Keri score. Like, how many hats out of 5 would you give this?
How many hats out of 5? Oh, you gotta give me 10 hats to choose from because some
Oh
things
wow,
are
okay.
really terrible. And okay, so on a scale of 1 to 10 hats, I would give it an 8 or a 9.
Oh wow, that's a
It's
lot of
very
hats.
good.
Wow,
It's a lot
okay.
of hats. Yeah,
Wow.
because the writing is so good, you get emotionally invested in the characters, and when they're making bad decisions, like, moral decision, you're like, "No!" You're
That's
acting like
really good writing to make you care about like a subject you like never really cared much about. It's just a sign of good writing. It's like the I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but the race car movie that came out like a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, with Christian Bale. Um, they'll know it in the chat, but it was a really good movie, and I just don't care about race car stuff in general, but I love this movie.
Yeah, that's the sign of a great film or a great TV show, where you don't have to be very knowledgeable on the subject matter already. Anthony is. He's a big fan of a lot of those players, and he knows a lot more about the history of that team than I do. But I don't know any of that, and I still am very invested in it. So,
Yeah, this Ford versus Ferrari is what I was thinking of.
Ford, what's it called?
Ford versus Ferrari.
I don't think I ever even heard of that. Ford versus
It's a good
Ferrari.
movie. I think you'd like it.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, guys. We are going to get into our topic tonight. And like I said, we're going to start off with you sent me some links about the state of woke in Hollywood. So we're going to take a look at some of those first. And then I cannot wait. I cannot wait. You guys have to, even if you have to leave for a little bit, you have to come back or watch it later if you miss it, because I haven't seen his new woke movie pitch yet. But if you saw the last one, we're in for a treat. So where should I start?
Well, I don't know if you got a chance to look at the GLAD report. So GLAD just came out with a report maybe like a couple months ago on the state of LGBTQ representation in movies or TV. They didn't talk about movies. And I like to read this to kind of get an idea of where we're at and what are they specifically pushing for and try to predict where things are going. And things haven't changed too much, but they did talk about how the representation of LGBTQ people was slightly down in the primetime scripted shows. As for cable and streaming, LGBTQ representation was about, and when I say representation, I'm basing it on what they want it to be, not what it actually is, because it's an overrepresentation. It's
Right.
twice as much, because I believe, according to Williams Institute, which they've sourced in their report, the amount of LGBTQ people is about 5% or so of the general public in America. And so most of the amount of these characters on TV are usually over 10%. And so
And that's not good enough either, right?
no, it's always more. And so every time it's an overrepresentation, they don't talk about it being an overrepresentation. But when it's underrepresentation, they do talk about it because they break it down based on race, how they want to see a certain percentage of certain races who are gay, of course, trans. They even have disabilities in there, and they're comparing all these stats, and it's just it's crazy. But something that this report talked about or hinted about, which is similar to what I was read in the UCLA report. Because they came out with a report on movies and TV and minority representation. As for TV, the amount of representation, and includes racial and women representation, is actually down a little bit. And what they said in the articles or in the report is what I've been thinking recently, with everything going on with the economy, with this looming recession or worsening recession, whatever we're in right now. Couple that with the streaming wars and the fact that all these companies overinvested in streaming properties and shows, and now things are starting to contract. And then with the writers' strike and actors' strike, all these things are just making it more and more expensive, and their budgets are tightening. And so, in an environment in which they were doing better, you could tell that the amount of diverse shows was flourishing. But now that things are starting to contract a bit, I think, and this is what the reports kind of hinted at, that the producers and directors, all the people in charge of making decisions, are going with what has been a proven commodity, which happens to be white dudes. Even though they don't like white dudes and they're trying to make things more and more diverse, I think a lot of the people being put in these positions who are minorities aren't qualified for the jobs, and that's why a lot of the writing on these shows isn't as good as I think it should be in compared to other big shows in the past. And so I see the uh, corporations still trying to have a cake and eat it too by having all the diversity and trying to have a nice little ESG score, but also still trying to remain profitable. And
Mhm.
that puts them in a tough spot. And so as things start to get worse, I tend to think that there is going to be a little bit of a backtracking a little bit on woke stuff because ultimately they still want to make profits and please shareholders. So
Right. So is there a particular page in this document we should go to?
you can, if you want to just scroll down to the fifth page right there where it has some graphics there, and it's just see a breakdown. Like, look how meticulous they are, just breaking down everything by gay, lesbian. So there are more gays than lesbians on TV. Shouldn't be too much of a surprise. But they also talk about trans at the top above that, and the amount of trans characters, and so they were not pleased as much with the quote unquote progress being made. And in this report, just like the UCLA reports, they're talking about how there needs to be more representation, and that representation actually makes the shows better because they were taking credit for uh, the Last of Us. I almost said This Is Us. No, not that one. The Last of Us show, because Ellie in there is gay, and they had the Nick Offerman's character who's also gay and had a
Okay.
big gay sex scene. And they also
Okay.
talk about Stranger Things, and they were trying to take credit for the popularity of the show, saying the reason why people are flocking for these shows is because there's so much representation in shows. I'm like,
No,
no,
no.
yes,
People are watching the show despite you pushing that
yes,
down our throats and making a big deal out of that. No one would care if it wasn't all over if they didn't lead with that like it's a story, like it's some
yeah.
groundbreaking thing. And we've talked about this before, how they try and pretend like, we've seen actresses like what's her name who played Katniss? Now I can't even think of her name. In the Hunger Games. The one who said she was the first female
Oh,
action
Jennifer Lawrence.
star. Jennifer Lawrence, we've seen them trying to rewrite film history to pretend like there is no history of gay and lesbian characters, or that somehow we live in this country where they've never been able to show this on television until The Last of Us, a gay couple, because people are so bigoted. And you and I know that's not true. Last week our episode was about gay representation in entertainment in the 90s. We've also done one from the 70s. I mean, that's simply not true. And the same
Yeah.
thing goes for women and for Black characters. I hate this narrative they're trying to push, especially on young people, where they believe, that last week it was the 1950s or the 1930s or, um,
Might
here,
as
can I,
well be, since they don't even
yeah.
watch like old movies and TV shows.
Yeah, they don't know. They have no idea. They have no idea. And so it's like, whatever you tell them, they're almost like young people are almost like AI. You just give them prompts. They're like, okay, that's what the past was. Um, Here, I'm gonna read some of this. Wow, they are so very meticulous with counting all this. Okay. This year, GLAAD counted 659 series regulars set to appear on scripted primetime broadcast series for the 2022-2023 season. Of those, 70, which is 10.6%, are LGBTQ. So as you noted, that is at that is the percentage or higher than the actual percentage of LGBTQ people in the population. So are they happy with that? No, because as you pointed out, they want overrepresentation. It's like it's not enough to have, well, if there's 5% of the population that's LGBT, then we need 5% of the population on top. No, it has to be 50%.
And
So
it's funny too, because like a couple of reports ago, they said that they wanted to get to 25%. They haven't printed that in this report or the report right before this one, but I still think that's their internal goal. They're just not stating it because maybe it's a little too obvious, because obviously there's not even anywhere close to 25% LGBTQ people. Although there are a lot of people, and I wish I wish I could have found this, but I saw a report recently from one of the statistic sites that talked about they surveyed people to see what people thought about representation in terms of the actual statistics, like how many gay people were in society, how many blacks and stuff. And people's guesses were completely wrong. Like they were way off.
Oh,
And I
because they're
think,
basing it on what they see in the media and
yes,
entertainment.
yes, yeah.
So
And
what
that's
were they
exactly what
saying?
it's with the trans stuff.
Was it
It's just,
inflated?
yeah, it was inflated. It was all way more than what actually existed. And because of television and film and everywhere, we're just constantly being subjected to this, and people are forming. It's no difference than the people who think that there's thousands of black men being killed by police in
Right,
America. Like, and it's like,
right.
no, like
They
even if you count like the legal, like the ones in which it was self-defense, that's still nowhere near 1,000 black men being killed by police, and unarmed black men like usually less than 20 in the entire country. It's just it's amazing how, I guess it's not amazing, but I'll say it anyway. It's amazing how people's perception is so easily manipulated by media. It doesn't
it
take
is,
much at all
and
just
that's
to
I
warp
think
people's
that's
perspectives.
yeah, that's part of the goal, is to give people a
Yeah.
warped perspective. That was part of my issue with Barbie, which I won't go back into that, but I just think I know I have friends who disagree and who thought it was criticizing woke, but I really think it's giving the impression, a false impression to young girls that the world is a patriarchy. And,
Hmm.
with people coming away potentially saying, young girls saying, oh, that's what the world's like. Men run everything. Um, I want to take just a quick second and say, I don't see it here, so I can't put on the screen, but thank you to Judy Thomas for becoming a member here at YouTube. I saw that earlier, right before we started. And also we have a special guest. I was just gonna say hello to my husband who's in Montana for a couple of shows. He's back in Montana. Anthony Garcia Music is here. He says Keri yells at the TV. That's true. When I get emotionally invested, I do when they're doing something wrong. Like, don't,
uh,
you know, don't go on a date with that guy. He's
mhm.
trifling. That kind of thing. Okay.
By the way, at the beginning of
Um,
this report, it said that I don't know if this is true. Maybe you can tell me if you've seen this statistic before, but they said that 1 out of 5 Gen Zs identify as LGBTQ.
I've seen numbers like that. I have, but because new studies, the thing is, it's in flux right now because we have so many. In my opinion, the reason the numbers have skyrocketed is because we have so many young people now who were raised with this ideology, being pushed on them in school, in elementary school, and online, on sites like Tumblr and Snapchat, elsewhere. And so it's in their social circles, it's at their school, it's in the mainstream media now. And so you have this, what have we called it before? Social contagion of young people who are saying, I'm also queer, I'm also trans. And I think what we're going to see is that number is going to drop off significantly as these young people move into other stages of adulthood, because we're already seeing a large number of detransitioners, people who are coming out now as young adults and saying, I was transitioned as a child, I believed all this stuff, I was basically ideologically groomed into going through a medical transition that my parents did not protect me from, and the medical establishment did not protect me from. And in fact, everything was set up to push me towards it. And now, I've made these permanent medical decisions for my body, like cutting off body parts or taking sterilizing hormones as a child when I should have been protected from those kind of choices. So I think that, it remains to be seen if that huge uptick is going to be something that's lasting. I think it's not.
Yeah, I think just impressionable kids that are being told that they are this. aren't actually that, but they're just at that stage of life where they're just easily told things and just accept it on face value that that's what they are. So
Yeah. Okay, well, let's read through some of this. Oh, hey, Therese. Therese says she yells at the TV too. Yeah, maybe it's a lady thing. I don't know. Okay. Let's read through just a little bit of this and then tell me if there's another page we should take a look at. So they, as you mentioned, you said they didn't put it in this report, but they've put it in previous reports that they would like to see representation of 25% of characters on television being LGBTQ, even though that's almost triple the actual percentage of the population, in general. But what do you think would happen? I just want to ask you, what do you think would happen if they hit 25%? Would they then stop pushing? Would they say, okay, we've reached 25% of all characters LGBTQ plus IA2 spirit? Would they stop there?
no, this is a grift. They
No.
need they like that money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said before, all this is just cheat code. A lot of people
Yeah.
who put themselves in these groups so they can get a leg up that they didn't earn over other people and artificially move themselves up the corporate ladder, even though they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah. Okay, so here we go. They say of all the characters that were series regulars, 70 of those, which was 10.6%, are LGBTQ. This is a decrease of 22 characters and 1.3% from last year. There are an additional 31 LGBTQ recurring characters counted, bringing the total to 101 LGBTQ characters on broadcast, an overall decrease of 40 characters from the previous year.
Ay, ay, ay.
Oh my goodness. Look, here they break it down into all the streaming services. On the streaming services, Apple, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix, Paramount, Peacock, GLAAD counted 239 series regular LGBTQ characters and 117 recurring characters, bringing the total to 356 LGBTQ characters. That's a decrease of 2 characters.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Womp womp.
8 characters, 1.3% of all LGBTQ characters were counted as living with HIV. Only 1.3%.
Yep. It's like every way you could think of them slicing up the data they did.
Here you're right. Here they get into all the intersectionality points. Over half of all the LGBTQ characters across platforms were people of color, with 304 out of the 596.
Yeah, they're saying this is a good thing.
That's 51% of all
They're like
LGBTQ characters were people of color, POC.
I'm like, why does it matter?
Oh, and then there were 27 LGBTQ characters. That's 4.5% of all LGBTQ characters in this report counted with a disability.
And they don't really define disability in the report, but they include people with anxiety and depression and other things. So it's not just like a physical disability. They include everyone. It's a large swath.
Like if someone has depression, they probably put them in that category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
Of the 596 LGBTQ characters found across all platforms, there were 32 transgender characters counted in this report, which is only 5.4% of all the LGBTQ characters. Wow, that's still pretty high. Right?
I know.
Considering.
Is there like 100,000 like transgender? It's been a while since I've looked at statistics, but I remember it was like not anywhere close to 1 million.
It's less than 1%. Well, historically, it's been less than 1% of the population of people who say they experience gender dysphoria. But now, as we mentioned, those numbers have skyrocketed in recent years. And the trans activists say, the woke activists say that's because there's always been tons of trans people. Everyone's trans. We just haven't felt safe to come out until now. That's what they say. But I don't believe that for a second. It's because it is a social contagion. It is a way to feel included for young people and to feel special and to be validated and told that you're beautiful and put on a pedestal. If you're awkward, they target autistic children with this ideology. They target children who are outsiders in some way. They target gender nonconforming children, effeminate boys or masculine girls, people who feel like outsiders. So, and this ideology was never being pushed in school before. I'm at that young of an age. I didn't get hit with all this with this whole belief system until college. And you didn't get it in school, did you?
No, I managed to avoid it, thankfully.
Yeah. Do you think you might have been susceptible to it?
Probably not. I mean, I did take a African American studies class, but I was never
That's how they get you.
I was never like far left or anything, and never hated white people or.
You were really into Star Trek, though. I could see them trying to come for you from that angle.
Resistance is futile.
Okay, let's read what they say about transit. Oh, we did. So only 5.4%. Okay, I'll zoom out of this.
And so, yeah, the report goes on. One of the pages talks about how HBO has the most LGBTQ characters right now for among all cable networks. And they, of course, talk about This Is Not This. I keep saying This Is Us, The Last of Us, and talk about some other shows. They also talk about how a lot of shows that were canceled were shows that were very tied with LGBTQ themes or were very diverse, and they're lamenting that the shows were being canceled and are not renewed. It's like, oh, it's because they're terrible. It's probably why. And so, like I said earlier, it's just budgets are tightening, and so it's going to be a lot of stuff get cut, and it's going to be a lot of that diversity stuff. And if you go and real quick, go to page 23.
I want to come back to their recommendations in a minute.
Sure.
Okay.
So
no.
Yes. Yeah, they even talk about representation for kids programming.
They're just open about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're putting this in kids programming.
Mm-hmm.
It's always so funny how they're like, this isn't happening until it is. Representation in kids and family programming.
So as you go down there, they talk about the Disney Channel. Disney, surprise, surprise, has quite a bit of programming that has strong LGBTQ representation. You saw that coming.
Disney Channel airs The Ghost and Molly McGee, which follows Molly and her ghost friend. The show includes Mrs. Root, Molly's teacher, who mentions her wife, and the queer ghost, Jeff. Oh, the queer ghost.
Why is it queer? Doesn't make sense.
If you were haunted by a queer ghost, how would you know? How would you know that they're queer?
You're a terrier, so tacky.
The show includes okay, wait. On Disney Junior, Eureka includes the titular roles non-binary classmate Sasha. Okay, so there's a non-binary school kid named Sasha. Disney Junior also airs Firebuds, where one of the kid firefighters has two moms and another has two dads.
Oh.
The network's Dino Ranch also includes a plot where the ensemble bands together to help two male dinosaurs adopt an egg.
Wait a minute. So that's why they went extinct. All the dinosaurs became gay.
Boom, boom. This already happened with the dinosaurs. Why are we doing it now?
Learn from history, guys.
Disney will be airing the final episodes of The Owl House, a show that broke new ground with a bisexual lead. On a kids show? Why is there a bisexual lead?
Give on Disney Channel,
which features Luz, her girlfriend Amity, and several other LGBTQ characters in the ensemble. The company also released new series Marvel's Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur on Disney Plus this year, which includes Brooklyn and Ty, two trans classmates of the protagonists, as well as two gay dads. While Disney's just like, they're like, let's go for 100% on the kid show.
Yes.
None
Gotta
of
get
this
that high
tends.
ESG score.
Yeah. Netflix aired several LGBTQ inclusive kids and family programs within the research period. The innovative Dead End Paranormal Park follows a gay trans boy. That means a little girl who likes boys. So,
what a contrast this is to like last week when we are talking about Teletubbies and Tinky Winky having a purse being accused of being gay.
Yeah.
Look how far
Look
we've
how
come.
far we've fallen since the 90s. The show also so a gay trans boy in this kid's show on Netflix, Barney, who works at an amusement park and fights demons. The show also includes, but he doesn't fight his own personal demons, does he? The show also includes his coworker Norma, who is pansexual and autistic. Pansexual again.
I still don't know what that is.
Pansexual is they love everyone. It's that whole, it's
so they're high on ecstasy.
It's when bisexual isn't enough.
Make up your mind, people.
Yeah, it's anything and everything and many people all at once.
That's just greedy.
It sickens me. I know we're making jokes about these folks, but it sickens me that they are even introducing concepts like this to children. And it's not just in entertainment, like in this Netflix show. I mean, in Georgetown, Texas, they had the middle school, Forbes Middle School, painted a mural. So this is like 10-year-olds painted a mural in our town square with 8 or 9 different sexuality flags, including the pansexual flag. Why do those 10-year-olds even know what that is? Why?
Yeah.
So anyway, this kid show has a character named Norma, who is pansexual and autistic, and Logs, who is Barney's love interest. The show was unfortunately canceled. After its second season. Netflix also, wonder why. It must have been because it wasn't any good. Netflix also airs The Dragon Prince, a fantasy series, which includes engaged lesbian couple Janai and Amaya, plus a trans elf, Terry. This is for kids again. They're pushing this on children.
Sometimes you can't help but this. I mean, it's.
I would not.
You just have to laugh sometimes.
I would not if I had kids right now, and I hope to have kids, I would not let them anywhere near a television without parental controls. Like, just, you can't just say, hey, this is for kids. And yeah. Netflix also airs Princess Power, a show for preschool age children. So these are toddlers, okay? Where one of the princesses, Beatrice Blueberry, has 2 fathers in the royal court. Paramount Plus aired a new Transformers series, Earth Spark, which features Nightshade, the first non-binary Transformer. Non-binary Transformer?
They're already trans, aren't they?
It's funny because it's so ridiculous.
I know.
They're sick. It's like just sick. Why you're putting this on toddlers? Some returning kids and family shows that feature LGBTQ characters include High School Musical, the musicals, the series, The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, and Big Shot on Disney Plus, Ridley Jones on Netflix, The Loud House on Nickelodeon, and more. And this you guys, we're just reading part of this because I want to get to your fun. I want to have some laughs, and this is really upsetting. We're just reading part of this, but this is on every one of these streaming platforms and networks, and it's just amazing. Look how they push this whole up is down, down is up narrative here at the beginning. we are living in one of those times that people go through throughout history, where there's a lot of doublespeak in Orwellian language and everything is upside down. There's a lot of projection, and this is one of those times. So even though all of this is happening in entertainment, this is where culture is at, right? Where it's fine to push pansexual, non-binary, transgender cartoon characters on toddlers, on preschool age kids. That's fine. But then they pretend like that somehow we're living in a culture that discriminates against this or something. Look at their opening paragraph. As anti-LGBTQ rhetoric has spread in the past 2 years, with record-breaking anti-LGBTQ legislation being proposed, much of it directly aimed at access for LGBTQ kids to schooling facilities and education systems, it is more important than ever to have content made for kids and families that depict the LGBTQ community in a positive and empowering way. So they're like, it's more important than ever to brainwash kids.
Yeah.
And to groom kids. This is ideological grooming. Mm-hmm. Asexual is a big one, by the way, that's coming up in woke. Like, this is another, and there's all different. We should do a whole episode about this at some point, because under asexual, I saw a chart with different flags, and there were like 32 different kinds of asexuals.
Just making up stuff.
It's
Everyone
just
wants to be so special. It's like,
yes.
I'm going to make up something.
Yes.
I'm only attracted to men on Tuesdays.
Yes. It's so crazy the way, look at this whole glossary of terms. It's all related to sexual orientation or gender identity, except for Latinx. They put Latinx in here.
Do you know any Hispanic person actually likes that term?
No.
Every Hispanic friend I have, I've asked them about that, and they hate it. Absolutely.
I don't know. It's only white people who use that term. Mm-hmm. Latinx. Okay, I just want to see on page 6. Was it page 6? Page 7. I want to see their recommendations. GLAAD's recommendations. This decrease. Okay. A decrease, because what was that we just read? There were it went down like 2 characters or something in one of the categories there.
That was for like streaming, cable's down 1, and then they didn't say a percentage there, but for broadcast, it's down 1%, over 1%.
So they say all of this is a decrease, all of this. Now, remember, last week on Pop Culture, as Mystery Chris just pointed out, we were talking about the 90s, not really that long ago, where the big controversy was whether or not one of the Teletubbies was gay because he carried a purse. And now we're here, where they're just blatantly like putting out these pansexual, non-binary, transgender cartoon characters for preschool kids on every streaming service, on every network. And they're saying this is a decrease in representation. So this decrease across all broadcast networks cannot become a recurring trend and must be left behind as a blip on the radar of LGBTQ inclusion. As more streaming services become available and audiences have increased options for what to watch and where to invest their spending, one way to keep programming relevant and a subscription as a must is to create new and innovative content that can break through the noise of new releases to become a must-watch. We've seen success for shows that break new ground with LGBTQ storytelling in recent years, with series like FX's Pose, Amazon's A League of Their Own, Netflix Heartstopper, and The Umbrella Academy, and HBO's The Last of Us, which have all received audience acclaim and critical success. As networks look to their upcoming slates, decisions on renewals, and greenlighting new series, executives should be looking at these examples of ways to tell LGBTQ stories across all genres and formats, and which reflect the diversity of the community. Notably, broadcast counts the lowest number of transgender characters of all platforms, and none of those characters appear in comedy series. as comedies are the bread and butter. Maybe that's because you say that nobody can make a joke about a trans person. How are you going to put a trans person in a comedy series and that whole subject is off limits? Like, as comedies are the bread and butter of broadcast, indeed the most buzzworthy series on the platform in recent years is the inclusive school sitcom Abbott Elementary. This presents an opportunity for fresh new storytelling. Comedies like Peacock, Saved by the Bell, and HBO's Max sort of have set the blueprint. Okay.
And that League of Our Own series, I watched one episode and was out because it was just over the top. It got even more over the top based on what this report says. I'm just going to read this real quick. You don't even have to go to this page. But it said a League of Their Own, whose ensemble is almost entirely queer. The show includes several lesbians on the baseball team, the Rockford Peaches, including Jo, Jess, and Lupe, whose style presents more masculine, which remains rare to see in television. The series also features a romance between lead characters Carson and Greta, and delves into the life of Max, a black woman banned from playing baseball who discovers her own queerness with the help of her trans uncle Bertie. That's so over the top. Like, I thought it was a joke. I was like, seriously?
This is just, yeah. It's just, I don't know. It's almost hard to parody, although you can do it. You can do it really well, but it's almost hard to make fun of it because it's so absurd and we're reaching just such a crazy place in terms of what people, what the mainstream, I would say, are the people who are making decisions about what appears in mainstream entertainment, about what they consider to be appropriate for children.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm going to take this report down.
Okay.
Should I pull up the Tyler Perry one, or is there another one you want to go to first?
Yeah, pull up this article, and thought this was interesting what Tyler Perry said a little while ago, but he got some heat for this. And tell me what you think.
Well, I bet you. Do they ever criticize him for dressing up as a woman because he's
No,
not actually
not yet.
trans? Not yet.
Not yet.
That's a very nice suit, I must say. I like that suit
It's interesting.
that he's wearing. Okay. This is an article from Mike.com. Tyler Perry has some concerns about Hollywood's diversity push. The director said he was excited about more opportunities for Black creators, but expressed reservations about who is actually qualified for the seats getting filled. During his keynote address at the Toronto International Film Festival this past weekend, Tyler Perry offered what he hoped to be a carefully worded take on the increased diversity in Hollywood in recent years. According to Deadline, the multi-hyphenate filmmaker and mogul said he was happy about the ways that the industry has pushed for more opportunities for Black creators, but added that he was concerned that as a result, some were being put into positions they are not qualified for. Quote, let me be very careful on how I say this. Be diplomatic. He knows. That's the thing with woke. You're
Yep.
going to step on, some eggshells and, landmines everywhere. He said, I'm extremely excited for what's happened with diversity and the choices and opportunities that we're seeing for Black people for the first time. It is amazing. But I worry because there is such a push for diversity and a push for hiring people of color that I found situations that there are people being pushed into seats that they're not ready for. I just want to stop here for a second. Two thoughts. First thought is, I know directly from friends of mine who still work in the entertainment world that I've heard, this is just anecdotal, but I've heard multiple people say, yes, they will. It used to be that if you were the writer's assistant in a writer's room and a seat opened up at the writer's table and you were doing a good job as a writer's assistant, you would get promoted. But now there are people white male people, who they will skip over, not just one time, not just two times, but three times even, I've heard, and say, sorry, you're not right for the makeup of the table. Like, they'll just come right out and say, we can't have you at the table because you're a straight white man.
Yeah.
and they're passed up for promotion, and they bring someone in from the outside to fill that position who
and
checks the right identity boxes.
so many of them know this, but are afraid to talk about it. I was watching the Shuttle Pod podcast, which is a Star Trek podcast. Two of the actors from Enterprise do it, and they're interviewing Jonathan Frakes, who plays Riker from Star Trek Next Generation. And there was a brief moment where he talked about how hard it was being like an older white guy in industry, and they quickly like moved on. And like I get not trying to make the episode an extra talk about Star Trek, but I thought it was interesting. I thought it was something that maybe has slipped from him that maybe didn't quite mean to say out loud, but a lot of them are feeling this, and even though they're very liberal or progressive, whatever, many of them are having a problem with this, and but are afraid to really come out and say it. And so,
I'm glad he said this. Yes, you're right. They're afraid to say it, but they will whisper it behind closed doors. A lot of them don't have the courage that he had to say this out loud in front of everyone,
mhm.
during a speech. And the other thing it reminds me of is it reminds me of what Kenny Shue has been talking about when it comes to affirmative action and the recent decision, Supreme Court decision, that Harvard and was it UNC had to stop using racist discrimination in their admissions practices. And, it reminds me of the Thomas Sowell clip that we watched, where Thomas Sowell was explaining that you set people up for failure, actually, when you put them in positions they're not ready for. And that it would be much better to put them into the positions that they are ready for so they can succeed than, to have, in the case of education, higher dropout rates.
I mean, it all has to do with this kind of leftist or liberalish type of belief that all ethnic groups and racial groups have the equal amount of talent, or talent that's proportional to their overall representation in the country, which doesn't make any sense when you think about it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that, but they never acknowledge that and just assume that the only reason is that there's discrimination that's holding people back. And so you have all these policies that are acting as an overcorrection to this supposed discrimination occurring, and it just makes things worse.
Yes.
And it's affecting not only entertainment, but it's affecting everything. I mean, there's wasn't last year when they had some train derailments, and I don't know for sure what who was working on some of these trains and stuff, but I suspect that with some of these type of jobs, they're getting people who aren't entirely qualified for them, and maybe that's leading to some of these accidents that are happening. I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. But still, that's just a concerning thing to think about, because this is affecting so many industries where, I mean, the medical field too. I mean, if you're going in for a major surgery, wouldn't you want to have the most
The
qualified
best.
doctor? Or
Yes.
you're like, well, is my
Or your
doctor a queer
airline
black
pilot,
man?
or
Yes,
yeah,
airline pilot. Yes.
exactly. Your
And so that's
surgeon,
what's
things like that.
concerning about that.
Yeah. Are you trying to say it was a woman driving the trains that were derailed because
An
we're
Asian
bad
woman?
drivers?
That was a joke.
I know.
Mhm.
I want to continue here because he continues. He expounds on this a little bit. Tyler Perry. So it says Perry referenced the type of comprehensive experience and training that people get at his own production company, Tyler Perry Studios, and how quickly they are, quote, snatched up to go to some bigger production. What I don't want to have is Black people in seats that we weren't ready for, and then have people that are not Black that were moved out of seats. If we didn't get qualifications, the teaching, or the education to get there, then how are we given the seats so quickly? It's my hope that in all of this change and this push for there to be more inclusion, that we're also providing time and training to make sure we can do a great job. So he tried to like temper it there, you can see, and say, you know, I want us to be there. I want there to be more Black people. He's specifically talking about Black people here as an example in the writer's room, what have you. But I want to make sure that we're set up for success.
And he believes what he's saying because he has his own studios, and he goes out his way to try to employ a lot of Black people. So he obviously wants those people to actually do good work, just doesn't
Yes.
want them to be there just because they're Black.
Just because they're Black. Yeah. I don't want to be anywhere just because I'm a woman. I don't want to be oh, you won this award, or I've mentioned this before, but it's just like when Biden said his vice president pick was going to be a woman. And it's just so insulting, because then when you do announce who that person is, you've basically already told people that you were picking the best woman, but not the best person. It's insulting. It's condescending. And now everyone thinks and knows that that person got there because of their sex.
Yeah, and she doesn't care.
No, she doesn't care.
She's too drunk to care.
On the one hand, Perry's message is worth considering, specifically coming from a decorated and veteran Black creative who has undoubtedly seen and experienced the lopsided inner workings of Hollywood in a way that few have. And he is making a general point with ostensibly well-meaning intentions. Those who move up the ladder should be given the resources to grow and prepare themselves for higher positions of power. But the idea also comes close to echoing a sentiment that is often levied against Black people and minorities within any industry, that things ought to be merit-based, and there simply isn't a substantial pool of qualified people of this or that minority group. Of course, the idea of a pure meritocracy is a myth. And this is especially true in Hollywood, where the idea that hierarchies are structured on qualifications or experience is practically laughable, perhaps more than in any other industry in existence. So the logic might come off as somewhat vague and dubious gatekeeping. Look, here's the thing. It definitely in Hollywood, it matters who you know. That is true. Okay. It's not just about merit. But in a lot of the creative positions, like the writing positions, it was, until woke started leaking into the writing rooms, it was about merit. Like all the executives and stuff I interacted with, which was mostly straight white men in the time I worked there, the network executives and stuff, they didn't have a creative bone in their body, but they were good, like, car salesmen. Okay. And they knew people and they had connections. And set the executives and those type of people aside, and the people that work in DEI, offices in the networks and all that crap, just make work jobs. If you're talking about strictly the creatives, though, you're going to have the best writing if you pick the best writers, and you're not looking at race or sex or sexuality or any of that. You're just looking at the writing samples.
They just really hate this idea of merit-based system. Listen, there are a lot of systems that aren't strictly purely meritocracies, but there are some that are or pretty close to it. But their idea is that since there's not a merit-based system across the board for every single industry, 100%, that we should just totally ignore the ability for a prospective or a employer to hire a particular employee, to make that choice. Because yeah, sure, there's going to be people who hire people that they know, like maybe hiring a son or daughter, or a son or daughter of a friend, or they're hiring some woman that they want to have sex with or something. Yeah, that stuff does happen, of course. But generally, people who are running businesses, particularly people who've gotten to a certain level, certain status in the corporate world, still want to make money. And so they still want to hire people that they know are going to be productive and be able to make a profit for them. And so there's still going to be that pressure on them. They're still going to want to move in that direction, even if there's some of the hires maybe aren't exactly that. But right now, when you're seeing such cultural pressure, and even some people lobbying for even more laws regarding, hiring quotas and all sorts of things like that, you're just getting this spiral downward where,
Yes.
You're having a bunch of people who aren't qualified that position, who aren't good at it, who don't work hard because they're given it. They haven't been forged through the tough competition. You're seeing a lot of demoralized, white men who are kind of dropping out of the system. And I think that's another reason why we see a lot of homelessness, because there's a lot of people who are just giving up and just dropping out of society, period. And so it's not good. And I'm hoping that there's going to be somewhat of a pushback, which I think we're starting to see a little bit of.
Yes, I think we are. I think people are just, well, we know this. Audiences are tired of it. I mean, look at the audience reviews versus the critics reviews. Look at the box office, with the exception of Barbie, which is doing very well.
Well, Ryan Cannell made a good point. I think I saw on Twitter. He talked about with Barbie. His view was that since Barbie was already like a female feminist type product, like inserting woke stuff in it didn't really damage it. It's typically when stuff that was never woke or associated with leftism suddenly gets injected with that, then people start to reject it.
That is a great point. They didn't take G.I. Joe and make him Barbie.
Yet.
Yeah, not yet.
It's coming.
G.I. Rachel Levine. Oh, okay. I'm going to exit out of this article if that's okay, unless you want to read more.
Yeah, no, that's, done. His quotes there. Next. I don't know what you wanted to pull up next.
Well, this Brian Cox one really interests me.
Yeah, so there's starting to be some people in Hollywood speaking out against woke. Small minority, but starting to happen. Brian Cox being one of them, coming off the heels of Succession, which everyone tells me I need to watch because everyone says it's great, but I have to add it to the long list because I still have to watch Game of Thrones and The Wire and Breaking Bad.
You've never watched Breaking Bad?
No.
No. You've never watched Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay. I really will watch your Star Trek if you watch.
Wait a minute.
Did we already do this deal?
We already did that. You're altering the deal.
What was the deal before? I can't remember.
I forget. It was something I was gonna watch. It wasn't Game of Thrones.
Let's amend the deal. I think this is a better deal because we can't even remember what the other one was. I watched Star Trek. You watch Game of Thrones.
Let's just play the.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Look at him. He's like, you're like, I got to think about it. Okay, Brian Cox.
There were a few stories recently where I actually immediately thought of you and thought I could almost hear the steam coming out of your ears. One was that there's a new theatre production of The Sound of Music where there are literally warnings to audiences because they say the musical touches on Nazi Germany and the annexation of Austria, that an audience now has to be warned about The Sound of Music.
Well, this is what I mean. This is what I can't stand. I can't stand the way we want to rewrite history. I can't stand the way we don't want to acknowledge history. And it's so important to acknowledge what our history is because that defines who we are and where we've got to. And without acknowledging history, we are screwed. You're well and truly screwed. Yes. And I think we've not done that nearly enough.
But all these trigger warnings that people want to put now on art, whether it's books, poetry, films, theatre productions, whatever it may be, when do we get so sensitive, so overly offended? Are we, or is it other people deciding we ought to be?
I think it really is about other people deciding we ought to be. I don't think we are.
I don't know anyone who goes to The Sound of Music who needs to be told, by the way, there are references to Nazi Germany.
I mean,
ridiculous.
I find that, I don't know where that's coming from. I really don't. I want to know who is making those.
I think it's a small number of people. It gets whipped up by a sort of very woke mob on social media. Before we know it, this becomes standard practice. Then you start seeing all the books having great chunks rewritten.
Well, we had the whole thing with Roald Dahl, which is disgraceful.
It's ridiculous. Isn't it?
Absolutely disgraceful.
Yes.
I mean, Roald Dahl is he was a difficult man, but he wrote some amazing stuff.
But if the criteria for cancelling people or revisiting everything they do was being difficult, you would wipe out almost every artist of any note in history. Yeah, they're all a bit difficult.
Exactly. Charles Dickens, boom,
gone.
And you go, it's not on. It's just simply not on. And you see, it also comes from complete ignorance. It's an ignorant state that creates this sort of, that's bad, that's good. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous to say, of course, that's what happened.
Wow.
And I love that, he's speaking out. And I kind of feel like because I put an article in there about Rich Dreyfuss, who also recently spoke out against woke stuff. And I kind of feel like both of these men are kind of at the age where they don't give a crap about anymore. I believe both are probably in their late 70s. And so They've both been pretty successful, had a long career, and done some great things in there. And so now they're at that age where they just don't care. They got the FU money, and they're just going to speak their mind. And I wish more people, especially younger people, would do that. I understand the fear of it, but I do applaud both of them, because both of them are obviously going to get attacked, being, you know, racist old white guys.
Yes, I love it that he said that, and because it's common sense, it's not right or left, it's just common sense. And we've seen that it's so weird, because on the one hand, the woke are constantly wanting to talk about, you know, how uniquely evil our history is in the US and in the West, but then on the other hand, they'll say you have to censor this subject matter about how, you know, evil things in history. It just, I love that he is also not afraid to just show, like, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. Who's doing this? Like, it's just like, yeah, because you know what, Richard Dreyfuss, it doesn't make sense. Here's the article you sent me from the New York Post about Richard Dreyfuss. Hollywood's new diversity rules are making one actor sick. Legendary actor Richard Dreyfuss condemned the inclusivity changes that will be implemented for, you know, just a quick note about all the Orwellian language. They use these words, inclusivity, which actually means exclusivity, right? We know this. Everything is up is down, down is up. It's all upside down. But they name it these things because then it's like, you know, who wants to oppose inclusivity, right? So it's like, no, you know, Black Lives Matter. You know, they pick these loaded terms to name things, and anti-racism, which is racism. So anyway, legendary actor Richard Dreyfuss condemned the inclusivity changes that will be implemented for next year's Oscars, saying that the new standards, quote, make me vomit. This is an art form, he said. It's also a form of commerce and it makes money, but it's an art, Dreyfuss said on PBS. And no one should be telling me as an artist that I have to give in to the latest, most current idea of what morality is. Oh, wow. When did Richard Dreyfuss get so based?
I don't know. Dr. Leo Marvin is based.
Dreyfuss, who famously played Matt Hooper in the 1975 horror film Jaws, claimed the standards were legislating people's feelings. Yes. Quote, what are we risking? Are we really risking hurting people's feelings? You can't legislate that. And you have to let life be life. And I'm sorry, I don't think there is a minority or a majority in the country that has to be catered to like that, Dreyfuss
What
added.
a racist.
Well, Dreyfuss, have you seen the new GLAAD report? Because we're not at 25% yet. There needs to be more catering. Starting in 2024, a film has to meet certain diversity and inclusion standards in 4 different categories set out by the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences to be considered for Best Picture at the Oscars. Wow. The categories, each pertaining to a different aspect of a movie's production, would require new diversity measures to be met through, quote, on-screen representation, creative leadership and project team, industry access and opportunities, and audience advancement. On-screen representation is classified as at least one lead character has to be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic group in order to be considered for an Oscar. How are you going to do a historical drama that may not meet these standards?
It's bad because, like, either they have to ignore that there's like people of color in like ancient Europe or something, and just make up some goofy reason with that, or they just have to come up with some reason as to why, you know, they happen to be there. It's like, that's just not realistic. It's not history, and just it's dumb.
It's so dumb. So it says at least one lead character has to be from an underrepresented racial or ethnic minority, having at least 30% of secondary roles be from 2 underrepresented groups, or the main storyline has to focus on an underrepresented group. So, okay, so It can be all white people as long as it's about all black people. How does that happen?
Blackface.
According to the Academy, underrepresented groups include women, people of color, people who identify as LGBTQ+, or people with disabilities, and the new standards are meant to encourage diversity on and off the screen.
It just limits the amount of stories people can tell, too.
It does. And it makes ideology, and it makes our immutable characteristics, which is like the least important thing about us as human beings and human storytelling. It makes that the most important thing in order to be considered for this award. Yeah. Okay. Look at what he says here. Dreyfuss, who won the Academy Award for Best Actor in 1977 for his role in The Goodbye Girl, defended Laurence Olivier in Shakespeare's Othello, a Moorish military commander, which he played in blackface. Olivier did it in 1965, and he did it in blackface, and he played a black man brilliantly, Dreyfuss said.
Based.
Right.
He does not care. Awesome.
You love that.
Yes, more.
Am I being told that I will never have a chance to play a black man? What? Is someone else being told that if they're not Jewish, they should not play The Merchant of Venice? Are we crazy? Do we not know that art is art? This is so patronizing. It's so thoughtless, and it's treating people like children, end quote. Dreyfuss suggested movies should remain focused on the reality of the story instead of manipulating it to meet a standard of who's in it. Quote, I once worked for a guy who was making a film about the gangsters of the 30s, Dreyfuss recalled. I said, why did you change this incident and that incident from the reality? Because the reality was so much more interesting than what you created. And by changing it, you made it simple and small. I totally believe that you can make a great film or a great painting or a great opera out of truth first, and try that first. And then if you can't do it, then make up some nonsense. But don't tell me you can't do that history is not interesting. Wow. This was great to read. That's from May of this year.
So I wonder is he still acting? I'm curious too. Maybe that was his retirement speech.
That was his retirement. They were like,
he did not care.
He did not care. Wow. Okay, should I pull up another one of these links, or is it time for your special presentation?
Just one more link. This is just a weird link I found in doing research, and I don't know what the quality is of this website, but I just thought it was an interesting website.
Is this the woke movie rating website?
Yes. So I was thinking, like, is there a website that gives woke ratings to movies? And yep, there sure is.
This looks really funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can see it, but when you go to this site, it's called worthitorwoke.com. And when you go to this site, there's a pop-up that says, get notified of our newest reviews. You can unsubscribe at any time. And you can click allow to, get on their mailing list. And if you don't click allow, the other option is, no, I'm too woke. I'm going to say, no, I'm too woke because I don't want to get notified. Worth it or woke? If it ain't woke, don't miss it. This is so funny. So they have movies here, like Haunted Mansion. They rate it woke-ish. Haunted Mansion doesn't quite cross over to the other side of good, but it's passable entertainment. Oh, look, they gave Barbie woke. Oppenheimer not woke. Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken, woke-ish. Should we pick one of these and look at it?
Yeah, let's pick one of
them. Nefarious, which we just did a panel about here on Deprogrammed last week, which is, I would recommend it. I think it's great. Let's pick Indiana Jones. They give it a woke rating. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is filled with unintentional metaphors that perfectly illustrate the franchise's downfall. Look at this, the rating. The rating overview. They give the plot and the storyline 25%, the visuals and cinematography 66%, the performance 60%, the direction 42%, and non-wokeness 50%. They have a wokeness scale. This is great. And then this is their rating summary. Don't let our overall score fool you. With a meandering and pointless plot full of unlikable and uninteresting characters, as well as a sad, lonely, and broken old man in the shape of Indiana Jones, The Dial of Destiny is the physical manifestation of everything wrong with modern cinema. Is this your site? Did you write this? This sounds like something you would write.
Caught me. No.
That's I feel like that's something you would say. Okay. This is really fun. Okay, I really want to get to your presentation.
Okay.
Can we do that?
All right.
Okay, you guys, if you are new here, I mentioned at the beginning, but if you're new to the Deprogrammed channel, well, first of all, this is a live show that we do every Wednesday night. It's me and my friend Mystery Chris, and we talk about different subjects in pop culture, and we just hang out. And if you missed it, if you're new here, Mystery Chris previously did a woke rewrite, and you did a whole presentation, like a movie pitch for a woke reimagining or a woke sequel to the Back to the Future franchise. And it was terrible. I mean, it was good, but terrible. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's what it was designed to be. Yes.
So tonight we have a new one, and you've sent me the deck. Let me see if I can get this.
Yeah. This movie should come as no surprise because I love this franchise. Let's see. Anyone can guess?
Is it going to be Star Trek? Okay.
No, not Star Trek. Something not as futuristic, but slightly.
I love that it's just called woke movie pitch.
No, there's another slide. I just did this so you would see what it is.
So I wouldn't
you have to go to
see?
the next one. All right, ready?
RoboCop.
Yeah. RoboCop, Black the Blue. You know I love RoboCop. All right. And I'll let you know when you go next one. I'll just say
Okay.
next.
I'm going to let you walk us through this like you're pitching it. You're in the room. You're pitching it to the woke executives, and just tell me when to go.
All right. Next one. So this movie stars Michael B. Jordan, plays Darnell Washington. He's a pimp with a heart of gold who works the mean streets of Detroit. Next.
Oh, wait. Hold on.
There you go. You had it.
This one?
Yes. And so one day, Darnell comes across some racist right cops led by Sergeant Jake McLeany, played by Michael Rappaport, who are beating and try to put a young black man into the back of a patrol car. They keep yelling, "Get in the car, Dartesian." The boy yells, "Man, I ain't do nothing, you racist bastards." Next slide.
I like that you got him with the cold sword.
Yeah, I didn't doctor that at all. I was like, he looked great there. So Darnell pulls out a gun and says, "Let him go, assholes." Officer McLeany says, "Oh, you just made the biggest mistake of your life, pal." The cops pull out the guns and fire on him. Next slide.
No.
Darnell gets hit by a flurry of bullets. He lies there as the cops get in the cars and drive away as his vision fades. Next.
Your graphics are amazing.
The world goes black. There's nothing but silence until the sound of footsteps get closer to him. He hears a deep voice that says, "Hello there." Next. A man appears next to a logo. He says, I'm the CEO of Omni Consumer Products. Congratulations, you have been chosen as part of our pilot program to rid the Detroit Police Department of racism by diversifying the police force. You are a cybernetic police officer who will be given a set of instructions that you will carry out in your daily patrols. Remember, only you can prevent racism. Good luck, RoboCop. Then the video ends. Next slide.
George Takei, of course.
So RoboCop sees several prime directives appear in his vision as the doctors and engineers finish putting them back together. They say, never beat black people, never tase black people, never shoot black people, always say good morning to black people, always share advice with black people, always eat cornbread with black people, and always play dominoes with black people. So RoboCop gets up and heads for his police car. Next slide, please. RoboCop gets into his car, heads out into the street of Detroit. Next slide. Over to dispatch, he hears that's a break-in of some young black males on the west side. Next slide. He arrives at the scene, gets out of his car. Next slide. RoboCop says, hey guys, looting is not the way to go. Let's have a chat. One of the team says, man, look at this goofy ninja. Pretending that system cares about you or the rest of us blacks. You ain't nothing but a black sellout. Sellout, sellout, sellout. Those words ring in RoboCop's ears. He wonders, what do they mean I'm a black sellout? He connects to the internet and searches for the term black sellout. Next slide.
Can just look at the subjects identified victims of a racist society.
All true, all true. First image comes up, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Next slide.
No.
Second
Darius
image,
Rucker.
Darius Rucker. Yeah, what a sellout. And then the next image, please. Next slide.
No.
Of course, Clarence Thomas, the biggest black sellout ever. Yeah. And so, if you go to the next one, please. RoboCop asks the teens if they will help him rediscover his blackness. One of the teens says, hell yeah, reaches to his pocket. He pulls out a joint, lights it, puts it up to his lips, and then he passes it to RoboCop. Next slide. RoboCop takes a long puff and starts to laugh uncontrollably. The teens all laugh. One of them says, man, I wish my ninja Dartichian was here to see this. It hasn't been the same ever since he disappeared. RoboCop freezes. That name causes him to remember seeing a black teen get beat up by racist cops on the day he died, but the faces of the officers were too fuzzy. He rushes back to his car and speeds off. Next slide. RoboCop arrives at the police station and rushes in. Next slide. RoboCop is such a hurry that he doesn't notice passing by his former top-bottom bitch, Taniqua, played by Lizzo, who's being released from custody. She says in a soft voice, is that you, Darnell? Next slide.
I just look at the bottom. Mission: locate Dartitian's records and database. Ignore fat hoe.
RoboCop connects to the database and looks up at Dartitian. He finds his records, sees that he's been a target by racist cops. The last arresting officer was Sergeant Jake McLeany. RoboCop then gets in his car, looks up Sergeant McLeany's location via GPS, and he speeds off. Next slide. RoboCop arrives at an abandoned Cracker Barrel. He heads inside.
What's in a Cracker Barrel?
I don't know where white people eat. I don't know.
That we do eat at the barrel.
Arby's? I don't know. I could have used the Arby's. Golden Corral.
No, it's good you picked the barrel. Next slide.
Next slide. He finds Sergeant McLeany standing inside. RoboCop says, you're under arrest for the disappearance of Tartesian Rollins and the murder of Darnell Washington. McLeany says to him, why do you care about him? He's just another missing blackie. Oh, I guess I'll let you in on a little secret. The abolishment of slavery was the worst thing to ever happen to this country. My great-great-granddaddy fought in the Civil War to keep it that way. He failed, but today I will continue his legacy. He pulls out a phone and a hologram emits from it. Next slide. Say hello to the New Africa Project. It's a secret program to take the blacks and sell them into slavery. We arrested Dartitian 3 times and found that he had excellent strength and agility that would make him an excellent slave. In a few hours, we'll have our biggest catch yet, the mayor, who's creating too much black unity. We will fake an attempted assassination on him at the Justice Rally. And in ensuring chaos, he will be rushed away into one of our unofficial cars and never seen again. The chaos will cause the blacks to burn down the city, thus paving way for the demolition of old Detroit and the construction of the all-white paradise called Dixie City. Too bad you won't be alive to see it. I had time to prepare for your arrival thanks to my spies in the police station, letting me know you were on your way. I got a surprise for you. He presses a button and a loud noise emanates from the darkness. Next. A robot stands up in front of RoboCop. Its head splits in half and a splay pops out, revealing... Next slide. Sergeant says, say hello to Jones Bot. This is the first version of you that OCP tried to shove down our throats. Turns out that he hated blacks as much as we do. OCP thought he was destroyed, but as you can see, he's more than ready to fight. He just needs a little boost. Next slide. He pulls out a canister of super male vitality, aka hate serum, feeds it to Jones Bot. Next slide, please.
You even put a little InfoWars
InfoWars
branding on there.
Super male vitality.
Oh my goodness.
Jonesbot feels the hate rushing through his system. Sergeant Malini says, nice knowing you, Robo-Cuck, and then walks away. Next slide. Jonesbot punches Robocop with his extendable arm. Next slide. Robocop falls down to the ground. Next slide. Jonesbot opens fire on Robocop with his machine gun arm. Next slide. Jonesbot walks over to Robocop, puts his gun to Robocop's head and says, gets ready to end him. Suddenly, a distant female whistles. Both cyborgs look up. Next slide.
No. No.
It's Daniqua, Darnell's top hoe. She's carrying a wrench in one hand and a turkey leg in the other. Next slide. She takes a bite of the turkey leg and says to Jonesbot, let's go, bitch. Next slide. She runs at Jonesbot and hits him several times with the wrench. She's way too fast for him. Next slide.
Why is she so fast?
Because she's a woman, a black woman. Jonesbot starts to spark. The screen emerges to show crying Alex Jones as he screams, 1776 will commence again. Jonesbot falls over dead. Next slide. Daniqua helps Robocop up. She says she followed him from the police station. He then tells her that they have to stop the racist cop at the Justice Rally. They drive off to the rally. Next. They arrive at the BLM rally. Robocop spots a sniper on the roof of the surrounding building. He tells Daniqua that she needs to get to the mayor from the podium, and he'll get the sniper since his targeting system is damaged. Next slide. Daniqua knocks Sergeant McLean and several other cops out as she makes her way to the mayor. Robocop arrives at the rooftop and tries to grab the sniper's gun, but a shot rings out. Next slide.
No.
Daniqua realizes she's too late to get to the mayor out of the way, so she flings herself in front of him, taking the brunt of the blast. People in the crowd scream and run in every direction. Next slide. Robocop rushes down to the stage, and he and the mayor lean over Daniqua's body. The mayor says, this beautiful black queen saved my life. She demonstrated the strength that all black women possess. Robocop cheerfully says, Foshizi, my ninja. Next slide. All of a sudden, Daniqua's eyes open up as she quickly sits up. She reaches into her cleavage and pulls out a pork chop with a bullet lodged in it. She says in wonderment, this pork chop saved my life. Next slide.
No. No.
She takes a bite of it and says, and it's delicious too. Robocop and the mayor both laugh. Next slide.
Just quickly, how are you getting away with this in a woke movie? Is it because it's body positive to eat as much as you want? Okay.
She's a beautiful black queen, Keri.
Okay.
The mayor rises up to the podium and says, ladies and gentlemen, today we have learned that black lives really do matter. Next slide. She's twerking there, by the way. The
I
crowd
was
starts to
gonna say,
chant.
where's her flute? All
Yes.
she's missing is the flute.
The crowd starts to chant, Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, including Robocop, who raises his fist as Danico twerks. The camera zooms in on the fist. Next slide. Cut the exterior of OCP headquarters. They're very festive for LGBTQ.
I mean, this is super LGBTQ plus IA2A two-spirit Z.
The CEO and board members of OCP are sitting in a meeting room when one of the members says, the RoboCop Diversity Project has been a great success. Police beatings of black men are down 8%. The CEO says, yes, it has, but now it's time that we expand our diversity program. See, please say hello to Lady Miss Sugar Sugar. Next image, please.
Oh my goodness.
No.
No.
A drag queen bot steps out from behind the door. The CEO says, we aim to have one of these policing every elementary school in Detroit. The drag bot says, let's slay some crime queen. Next slide, please.
I'm going to cut that. It's going to be my ringtone when you call me.
All right, do it. CEO says, I'd buy that for $1. Oh my. The end.
Bravo.
Yeah.
Bravo. Wow. That was. Now, you asked me early on if I was going to watch Barbie a second time. I'm not, but I am going to watch this again.
Do it.
Bravo, you guys. That was amazing. Mystery Chris, you've outdone yourself.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Chat. I wasn't even looking at the chat because I was so enraptured. You guys, give it up for MC. That was amazing.
I love RoboCop.
I'm just looking to see what, yeah, everybody seems to be also laughing, having a good time. I knew it. I knew it. Here's the thing about your woke movie things. I know Chris Gore told you this too. You could actually go out and pitch these.
I have several more.
probably-
Maybe in the future I'll do some shorter ones, just like some quick blurbs. But yeah, it's kind of fun. It should
Wow.
sell out.
You could probably get that made by someone. Take it to Disney Plus.
They need
Oh,
all the help they can
Anthony's still here. He says, amazing.
get. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was amazing. Oh, okay. Woo! I don't have anything like that prepared. What I do have is a woke plot summary that I'm going to read you. And I am not an artist like Mystery Chris. Did you do all that art yourself?
I did.
I figured you did. See, the thing about you, that's you do digital art, and now with AI, it's, I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, he must have made these in AI, but I know you. And I was like, no, I think he made these himself. I could tell. I am not an artist, so I generated a few images just of characters for fun and just to get, hopefully, see if you find them funny.
All right.
So, and since we've been covering AI, and I do think it is a great evil, but I figured I would test it out with this project. And so I had it write a woke plot summary for me, and then I added some of my own personal touches to it. So I started with what they gave me, and it's pretty scary what they gave me. So this is the woke reimagining of The Wizard of Oz. And I guess I'll put a character up here. Why not? Let me open my folder. I know I used the evil AI.
I know you broke a rule.
I know. Let me see. Which one could I start with that's kind of funny? Actually, this is not this first image I'm going to show you is not AI, because when I was looking this up, I found images of what I was looking for that artists had done, like actual artists. So here's one. Let's see. Can you see that?
Yes. Nice.
This is an actual artist did this in all seriousness, and they painted Greta Thunberg as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and they were trying to make some grand statement about climate change, and the tornado there in the background, of course, with Greta Thunberg. I was looking for images of Greta Thunberg as as Dorothy, and I found quite a few, but then I decided to play with AI anyway and just see. So so I just thought this was kind of freaky, this art piece. So we'll leave it up there while I read the beginning. And then as I get to some of the characters, I can show you some of these. Okay. The Awakening of Oz. The Awakening of Oz is a contemporary retelling of The Wizard of Oz with a modern woke twist. The story revolves around Dorothy, played by Greta Thunberg, in her first motion picture. Dorothy is a young and environmentally conscious transgender girl who lives in a small town. She is passionate about protecting the environment and addressing social issues. One day, a powerful tornado strikes her down, and when it clears, she finds herself in a fantastical realm called Oz. Oz is a land once thriving with diversity and harmony, but it has fallen into disarray due to the oppressive rule of the Wicked Corporation, led by the villainous CEO, Mr. Wicked. Okay, hold on one second. I have to do my own tech here, so yeah.
I'm surprised Greta Thunberg hasn't been in any like movies, or has she? Have they asked her to be anything? Like,
Oh,
seems like they would have like put her in tons of like minor roles.
you know they will put her in something eventually. I mean, they put Stacey Abrams in something.
Oh, that's Star Trek Discovery. Never watched that.
Okay. Here is the villainous CEO, Mr. Wicked, who is the oppressive ruler now of Oz and the Wicked Corporation. So I thought that was a pretty good AI rendering.
Yeah, AI did this. Yeah.
Yes.
It looks like he doesn't have eyes though. But
oh well, you can't see. He's like looking off towards the
Okay.
waterfalls. I gave it the prompt of Trump, and this is what it gave me. So yeah. Okay, so he is exploiting the land's resources and causing environmental degradation and promoting discrimination and inequality among Oz's inhabitants. The air pollution in Oz is so bad that Dorothy finds her skin riddled with sores. Okay, give me one more second.
Didn't they try to do Wizard of Oz recently? Beyonce or something?
Did they? I mean, they've redone
like
it
Muppets or
many
something.
times.
I still like the Wiz. I don't care. People say it's required viewing for all Black children.
The Wiz. Okay, this is an AI rendering. Now this is pretty freaky.
What is
this?
Who? What?
This is so I took Greta Thunberg's picture where she's in the pink shirt, all angry, and I merged it with a picture of the actual Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, and it gave me this.
That's terrifying.
And I didn't even add anything about sores or anything. It just did that based on keywords that were attached to those images. So I was trying to figure out, why did it make her look this way? That's why I ended up adding sores and stuff to the plot, because it came out looking like this. And the reason why I think these got added was because in one of the keywords attached to that picture of Greta Thunberg, you know, I guess when it's scraping the internet looking for pictures of her, is Antichrist.
Accurate.
Isn't that interesting? I don't know very much about AI. I haven't played with it like other people. This was really my first time kind of like playing around with it and seeing how it works. And I was using two of the free ones, so it's not like I was using one of the great ones anyway. But
now you're addicted.
No, I don't think so. Okay. Dorothy's mission in Oz is not just to find her way back home, but to bring justice, equality, and environmental consciousness back to the land and to clear up her complexion. Not because of patriarchal standards of beauty, but because as a trans girl, she finds personal empowerment in a clear complexion. Brought to you by Gillette. And here I figured there'd be lots of product placement by Gillette because they're super woke. And also because she's supposed to be a trans girl, so like biological male, so she probably has to shave. Along her journey, what?
Go ahead. No, sorry.
Along her journey, she encounters 3 companions. Let me see.
I'm trying to think who these are going to be.
Now I made, oh my goodness, wait a minute. Let me pull this up because there were so many good options here. I'm going to show you all 3 of them.
Like, it's gonna be good. Wow.
Okay. These are her 3 companions. The Scarecrow.
That's actually pretty good. Jeez.
The Scarecrow, played by Stacey Abrams.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we've already seen her take on acting roles. So she's the veteran here of the cast. So the Scarecrow, played by Stacey Abrams, is an AI scientist who longs for a heart to feel empathy and compassion for all living beings. And then I just thought these were all so good. Like, look at this one.
Hey.
Would you see this
Wow.
movie?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, but yeah.
look at that one.
Looking at the fingers.
Oh yeah, the fingers. Look at the fingers. Oh, she only has 4 fingers. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. But I just thought that was
pretty out there.
pretty incredible. Okay. Here is
the next one.
Are you trying to guess who the next one is?
Yeah, I'm trying to guess. Is AOC gonna be one of them?
No. Here we go. Thanks for bearing with me.
Ah.
Can you tell who that is?
Is that RuPaul?
Yes.
Okay. I was like RuPaul or Grace Jones, one of them.
So there's the Scarecrow, who's the AI scientist. Then there's the Tin Activist. The Tin Activist was once a loyal soldier, but now a trans activist seeking to embrace her emotions and fight for justice, dismantling the oppressive structures. And then the first one here is the best. I don't like the others as much. That's the best one. They're not as good as the Stacey Abrams ones, but I mean, pretty cool.
I feel like somebody's gonna take this and like make an actual costume out of this.
Yes, probably.
Unironically.
Okay, and then the third is you're never gonna guess this one.
Oh, I mean, they've all been black people. So we gotta stay in the black family. Oprah or Michelle Obama.
Keep going. Let me just describe this character. Okay. So we've got the Scarecrow, we've got the Tin Activist, and the Cowardly Ally. The Cowardly Ally is a former journalist who seeks courage to speak truth to power and stand against the wicked corporation on behalf of oppressed minorities. Can you tell who that is?
Yes, Keith Olbermann.
It's Keith Olbermann.
Crazy line. That's what he is.
That's the best one. The others are freaky. What were you gonna say?
Keith Olbermann and Fabio had a baby.
I kind of just want to put this image out there. It's just so funny to me. His flowing mane.
You should like frame this, like just print it out on regular letter size paper and frame it. It's just funny.
The Cowardly Ally. If he would probably want to be in this movie, he would be like, "Thanks, I'll do it." Okay. That was the
Man,
best
those are
one.
really good. This is better than I thought. Like the quality of the renders.
Yeah,
Quite
I
good.
think they're pretty good. Okay. Together, they embark on a quest to meet the leaders of different regions in Oz and seek their wisdom to challenge the wicked corporation's dominance. As they travel, they face various challenges and confront the effects of the wicked corporation's actions. They witness communities divided due to lack of understanding and environmental devastation affecting vulnerable populations. Dorothy and her companions fight against right-wing propaganda and misinformation spread by the wicked corporation. Throughout the journey, Dorothy and her friends learn the value of diverse perspectives and cooperation. They find strength in standing united, embracing their vulnerabilities, and challenging societal norms. Each character grows through self-discovery and self-empowerment. The climax of the story comes when they finally reach the Emerald City, where they expose the true intentions of the wicked corporation. The power of their unity inspires the citizens of Oz to join together and take a stand for justice, equality, and environmental stewardship. In a dramatic showdown, they confront Mr. Wicked and demand he relinquish his oppressive rule. With the combined strength of the citizens of Oz, the Wicked Corporation's rule is overthrown and a new era of unity, environmental consciousness, and justice begins. Having completed their mission, Dorothy and her companions find their way back home, carrying the lessons they learned in Oz with them. They become advocates for change in their own world, spreading awareness about the importance of protecting the environment, embracing diversity, and fighting against injustice. The Awakening of Oz is a powerful and heartwarming tale that urges readers to be socially responsible, embrace empathy and inclusion, and work together for a better and more equitable world. Brought to you by Gillette.
I should put it brought to you by Pfizer.
Pfizer.
Nice. That was like an actual pitch. Mine was like over the top, but yours.
No, but this is AI. I just added little
Oh,
touches like the Gillette
okay.
stuff and
Yeah.
the trans stuff. Actually, it didn't have any of the trans stuff in there. I added like little touches. This whole thing though, that's how freaking crazy woke AI is. That it can just spit something like this out. And you know what's funny? We were talking about writers' rooms and how they are they've been hiring people just based on identity and what identity checkboxes they have, and of course they have to have the right ideology, they have to be woke. And I think it's sort of similar to how you and I were talking about, because the quality of music has declined so much in recent decades, like we've gotten used to, or at least young people have gotten used to, music generated by algorithm and singers who can't actually sing without autotune and songs that all sound the same and people who don't even play their own instruments. But because they've gotten used to that, I think the jump to AI music is going to be a pretty smooth one because they're already used to this crap. And I think this might be similar to the writing room. Like, could you see this AI stuff is advancing so quickly? That's just a pitch. But I could see them being able to say writer strike. Who needs them? And the quality of the writing's so crappy now anyway, and it's all woke, and people have, presumably gotten used to that they could just have AI write something.
Well,
Why
I
not?
would see them having AI, but having like somebody who go in and like
And
touch
tweak
it up
it.
and figure it out. But yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that.
yeah.
I kind of feel like it's inevitable. I mean,
It is
I'm
inevitable.
sympathetic to some of these writers and actors and people, but I just think it's not only them. It's plenty of industries that are going to be forever changed by AI, and people are going to have to move to some other profession because it's coming.
It's I don't know. I think it's really freaky.
Mm-hmm.
Can I show you some of the fun like mistakes and things I didn't choose when I was putting in different prompts?
Yes.
Okay, so on DALL-E, I used two different ones. The ones I was showing you just now were all from Freeway ML.
Mm-hmm.
But I also originally tried some on DALL-E, and it was freaky. So my original concept was going to be, because of what they did with Snow White, what they're doing with Snow White, where they got rid of all the dwarves except for one, and it's like Snow White and the magical creatures, which is so offensive, so crazy. And dwarf actors are like, what the heck? These are dwarves. We can't play dwarves. Oh, dwarves is offensive. We're gonna call them magical creatures instead. You know, so dumb.
And that came out like the picture came out around the time the Wonka trailer came out, and Hugh Grant plays Oompa Loompa. They didn't actually get a little person; they got Hugh Grant.
Yeah, they're not letting actual dwarves appear because being a dwarf is apparently terrible. It's offensive, and dwarves are like, what? You know,
too offensive to be in our movies.
So originally, I was going to try and do like sets and stuff with the AI, and then when I started playing with it, I learned, oh, I have not, played with this enough to know how to do all this, and I don't want to. So I'm just going to do some characters instead, and that's what I did. But originally, I was like, I had this different concept, and I wanted it to be all of the Munchkins are going to be played by average size people. Because it would be offensive to have dwarves play the Munchkins. And then the Dorothy's three pals, the Cowardly Lion and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man, were going to be little people. I was just going to switch them. And actually, this was from the other night. I was on Toxic Femme, and Tom said this, and I was like, I might use that in my thing. So when I first started playing around, this is giving a prompt to DALL-E to see. Let me see if I can make this larger. Nope. This was trying to see. It's kind of small there, but this was dwarves playing these characters, and their faces are all messed up. Do you see that?
Yeah. That's freaky.
It's very freaky. Hold on, I'll make it larger. Okay, now look. Look at that one. Isn't that creepy?
What is that on the right? What is that?
I don't know.
Get it away from me.
Maybe it was like dwarves. I don't know why it made them look so creepy, but look at these.
They're all inbred.
Yeah, these were just weird. This reminded me of some of the early AI stuff I saw, where it was like, remember a few short months ago when it was like, oh, it's never going to catch up with, or whatever that was, when you first started to see these like AI looking accidents.
That's what Shirley Temple would look like if she was young and alive today.
You think so?
Yes. I can sing and I can dance.
Let me see if there's another one on here worth looking at. Oh, these are some trans Dorothy characters.
They need to be more feminized.
Right? It's just dark. It's like purposefully getting things dark. The prompt for that was just a bearded man dressed as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz in a gingham dress. And then they made him cross-eyed and all this other stuff.
Because it hates us. That's why it's like making fun of us.
Here's some weird ones.
What was the prompt for that?
Oh, that was just seeing some variations of the first picture of her. And I just thought these were freaky too. And I'm like, I don't. Aren't these weird? I just wanted to show you some of the mistakes. Yeah. Anyway, these are things I didn't use. There's like a whole bin of these. Anyway. Freaky, right?
Fun with AI.
Fun with AI. Mark says, please make it stop.
I'm going to have nightmares tonight.
Right? Let me see if there's any I didn't show you that might be fun. I mean, the quality of the Freeway MIL. Let me show you one of the Greta ones I did not use. Because they just make her look like just a little girl. Like very young.
Oh yeah.
But
oh yeah.
It's pretty impressive though.
Yeah, rendering is just crazy.
It's crazy, but too many fingers.
That's what climate change is doing.
That's what climate change is. Yeah. Anyway, well, that's it. I think my favorite one of all was either the Stacey Abrams or the Keith Olbermann one.
Yeah, I like that Stacey Abrams, that first one, or Keith Olbermann. Those probably were the two best.
Yep. Well, thank you so much for putting.
Real quick, can we play a video in honor of Paul Rubens? I know you talked about this on a Covfefe break, but
yes,
can we play? We played this before, but it's the Jurassic Park Pee-wee crossover.
Yes,
because I think both of us love that.
It's
a good way to go out on.
Oh, yeah, I talked about this on Monday, and yeah, I don't know. This one just hit me really hard. Of course, I think he's just so funny, and there's so much nostalgia there. And
yeah, I tweeted at you. I sent you a picture of Pee-wee dolls on eBay that are like going for hundreds of dollars now.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I bet my costume's going to go up. So for months now, I keep checking Amazon because I've probably for 6 months now, I've been trying to get a female-sized Pee Wee Herman costume. And they had one that was just sold out. So they only had the men's version. And then a couple weeks ago, I just checked, and they still don't have the women's version, but they have another seller selling a different men's costume, and it was like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, no, I'm just looking for a costume warehouse kind of thing. And I bet you those costumes have gone up in price.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of Pee-wees at Halloween. Yeah.
Oh, someone in the chat has one. Twee Girl.
Oh.
She says, I have one and I'm not selling it.
I used to.
Okay, guys, we are going to play this clip that Mystery Chris previously showed us when we did our Jurassic Park Michael Crichton episode. And it's a mashup of Pee-wee and Jurassic Park. And thank you guys for tuning in.
Come on. We got to get out of here. Now, right now. Let's go. Must go
Oh, that was the scene. There was a trailer one.
Oh, where's the trailer? Wait, we have to see it. It's just too funny.
That's what the internet was invented for. Love it. Let's see if we find the.
Oh, here it is. The full trailer. I found it.
Cool. Oh, Pee-wee. Still hard to believe how he started off as like dirty. Like you've seen some of the early Pee-wee stuff and how raunchy it was.
Yeah, compared to the kids show.
Crazy.
I talked about this on another channel. It's weird because they kind of what they did was they did an adult, like a parody of a kid show, like the Groundlings, for an adult comedy audience. And then they turned it into an actual kid show.
I know, it's so weird.
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica. And I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve. And there's no doubt our attractions will drive kids out of their minds.
What kind of park is this?
We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
This species just been suddenly thrown back into the mix together. We possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect.
Yeah, that's nice. Gotta go.
doesn't want to be fat. He wants to hunt.
No, you are, but what am I?
My bike.
Come on. We gotta get out of here. Now, right
What now? Senses are failing all over the park.
Door security systems are shutting down.
The door locks. Ellie, boot up the door locks.
The only thing that matters now are the people we love. John, they're out there where people are dying.
Go ahead and scream your head up. We're miles from where anyone can hear you.
So good.
It's just a delay. That's all it is. All major theme parks have delays.
But John, if the Pirates of the Caribbean breaks down, the pirates don't eat the tourists. Clever girl.
So well done.
Such a great mashup.
Yep.
Woo. Therese, the older I get, the funnier Pee-wee is to me. Yes, I think so too. Well, the older I get, the more I'm appreciating the same kind of humor I liked as a kid, which is like silly prop humor, puns, like all the just really silly stuff. I love it. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm just tired of I know what I'm really tired. I'm just tired of filthy comedy. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I can't hear it, and it doesn't mean that it's never funny. Sometimes it is, but it's just such a crutch. Like, it's so overused.
It's too easy.
It's too easy, and half the time it's not funny. It's just dirty, and then it's like you're kind of like leaning on that. Like, I guess it's funny because it's shocking and it's dirty or whatever. But
that's why I said I'm glad that Them in Color was on broadcast TV instead of HBO, because originally it was being shopped around and HBO thought about purchasing it. But if that had happened, I think the Wayans brothers, they're funny guys, but I think they would have been too tempted to do like dirty stuff.
Yeah.
But being on broadcast caused them to like get around that and do more innuendo and other stuff that just wasn't quite as dirty. So
they had to be more creative.
Yep.
They had to be more authentically funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Throwing shade at FNT. No, I'm not. I'm not throwing shade at anyone. I'm just saying that's not my favorite kind of humor. And the older I get, the less I laugh at it. So I don't know. Maybe it's returning to maybe when I'm 80, I'll just be laughing at motorized teeth.
Or some hologram of Amy Schumer. My vagina. Ooh.
Oh, he says I'm joking. Well, I missed that joke too, tree surgeon. I'm kidding. Yeah, like Amy Schumer is a great example. And if you go to a stand-up club, I feel like a lot of it, especially if it's a woman, is just sex and anatomy based humor. And again, it's not that can't be funny. And I have friends who are comedians who make those kind of jokes who are very funny. But I just feel like it's the humor. It's sometimes like when you put woke ahead of comedy and then it's just the woke is more important. I think sometimes if you're putting being blue, what they used to call it, I don't know if they still call it blue humor, putting being blue ahead of the funny part, then it's just about being blue, and it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and it just loses effectiveness too, because we've just been subject to so much of the shock comedy that nothing's shocking anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, reality is just so crazy that it's kind of hard to shock people with like dirty stuff these days and make them laugh.
It has to be funny. Teresa's, that's why Chrissy Mayer is such a gem. Yes, it is. She can do it. She can do it brilliantly and make it, and it's not tired. Yeah. Okay. You You guys in the chat are funny. Okay, I had fun tonight. I'm winding down. I don't know if you can tell. I laughed a lot, and now I've got to go take a laughing break. So thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you guys, especially if you were new. Like I mentioned at the beginning, Wednesday nights is when we do our live pop culture show, 8 o'clock Central. If you are a regular viewer and you're not already a subscriber, you can become one at Locals, Patreon, Subscribestar, or here at YouTube. And if you want to support the show in other ways, you can just leave a comment. That helps a lot. Or hit like on this video. Hit like on this video. That helps our algorithm. So thank you guys. And thank you, Mystery Chris, for all of that work. All of that hilarious work paid off.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. And Disney, I am for sale. If you want to send me a check for $1 million, I have more ideas. Please hire me, Disney.
We're gonna cut that into just a short clip, like we did the Black in Time one, and we're gonna put that out tomorrow. So also tomorrow, I'm gonna be releasing an interview with Mad Barber Entertainment. So that'll be, I believe, at our usual. No. I'm stepping it up. We're changing the time. I'm going to be putting out around 2 p.m. Central tomorrow, but I'll get the notice and stuff up tonight so you guys will see that. But yeah, I had a great time talking with him, and I hope you guys tune in tomorrow. And otherwise, I will see you guys Friday.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I did that thing again where I didn't have the ending queued up.
Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I'm gonna go then! And I don't need any of this! I don't need this stuff! And I don't need you! I don't need anything! Except this!
We're still here just because surprise ending. I just saw this comment as we were leaving ADL. He says, I take it you didn't like that stupid joke I made earlier. I didn't see it. So no worries. I can't look at all the chats when I'm talking, or especially when I'm running slides or whatever. So I missed it. I apologize, but no, there was no ignoring that. So that's it. Okay. I just wanted to say that. Okay, goodbye.
Bye.
Is that okay?
It is now.
Okay, bye.
Bye.